he sees your eyes running through the night, only takes him back. Always side to side, crowding through the night. Run, you can run, but you'll never hide. The walls are coming, you're running. The walls are coming, you're running. The walls are coming, you're running. The walls are coming.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the newly revamped Extra Time Until We Win a Game. It is called Therapy Hour, and hopefully we put a bit of smile on your face, do a little bit of therapy, and all of that jazz. I do apologise. We were supposed to start at 8:30. It is 8:45. There is no way that we were just deliberately doing the 15 minutes late. We've had a few technical issues. We'll explain why in a little bit. But before I get started and introduce my guests, as always, I'd like to say a big thank you to Creation Wolf, who power and sponsor Extra Time Therapy Hour. They deliver the industry's and latest, most advanced digital solutions, taking your brand and online presence, digital capabilities to the next level. You can find them on creationwolf.com. The link is below this video as well. So I do want to introduce my two guests that I've got on tonight. We're going to try and keep it to an hour, particularly want to keep it an hour. It's very pertinent to me that I don't want to be too long tonight. I'll explain why in a bit. But first of all, I want to welcome back onto the stage, looking very dapper indeed. It is Hoops. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, really good, mate. Hope everybody's well this evening.
Very, very well. But there are going to be people wondering, Hoops, your backdrop is different. Where is Howler?
Yeah, Howler is around. You're right. I've had a bit of reconfiguration in the house. I've been kicked out of the office while we're doing a bit of work. There has been some speculation that Howler's been doing an enforced protest as well, but he's around because I know people would ask. So he's still very much around.
Get complaints if Howler wasn't on, but can you just confirm there is no truth in the rumour that we had to delay the kick-off of the show by 15 minutes because Howler said so?
There is no truth in those rumours. Yeah, I think he's quite a mild guy. You won't see him with a Taiwan flag outside the Billy Wright statue anytime soon or anything like that. So, no, it is purely, he just sees ear. Other than me having him literally behind me or just like here, then he's going to have to be on this.
He's actually larger than life, actually, when he gets close up to the camera. It's great to have you on. Always put a smile on people's face and have a bit of humour as well. And I'm also delighted to say that I'm going to be welcome on a literal Wolves legend, Mr. Mel Eves. Hello, Mel. Mel?
Hello.
How are you, mate?
How are you?
I'm very good.
Can you hear me now?
I'm very, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm great.
Now, we did have a few issues with Mel.
Good.
We could see you. You could see us. You could hear us, but we could not hear you. And but we managed to get it sorted with a restart in the end, didn't we, Mel?
People always have issues with me.
If at first you do not succeed,
I think we got there in the end. We get there in the end, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. Well, thank you ever so much for joining tonight, Mel. Things we're going to talk about tonight on the show. We're going to focus on the football primarily. We will touch on the Jeff Shee interview, of course, and get your two guys' opinions on that one. But I don't want to go over old ground again too much tonight. We want to talk about the football and the performance yesterday. I want to talk a little bit about the Disability Supporters Association, Mel, because we were together at the weekend. Also, the Wolves women played at the weekend in the FA Cup as well. So we'll cover a bit of that as well. And then obviously towards the end of the show, we'll talk a little bit about the Jeff Shee interview and get your opinions on the situation all around that as well. But first of all, Mel, you were at the Disability Supporters Association Christmas dinner at the weekend with Jason, and there were Dave Jones. I think there was Steve Daly was there as well. Colin, what's his name? Colin, I can't think of his name.
Taylor.
Colin Taylor was there, and and the legend as well, John Richards was there as well, wasn't he, Mel? Colin Taylor and John Richards was there as well, wasn't he? King John.
Taylor.
It's worth noting. Just let people know a little bit why you went and attend those things, and a little bit about the Disability Supporters Association and why it's a good thing. Mel?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Mel. We can hear you, Mel.
Good.
Yes.
Yes. The supporters, the Disability Association is a really good fan-led organisation, and Martin does a really good job, as well as quite a few of the other guys in getting the disabled supporters together, giving them a voice. And I was really pleased to be there with John Richards, who's the chairman of the Former Players Association, along with Steve Daly and myself are members of the committee as well, on the committee with John, the chairman. And it was great to see Dave Jones, our former manager, who took us into the Premier League for the first time there. Dave's a really great guy. And Colin Taylor, who was at the club and played quite a few games, even with Bully and Muchie were the main strikers coming through. But he was an England schoolboy international himself, and I think he played about 25, 30 games before he moved on. Obviously, with Muchie and Bully, he wasn't going to get a game. But great guy. He's really does really good stuff for support the Wolves All Stars charity football team, which I have managed for 25 years or so now, and he's played in a lot of the games, and as have loads of the players previously over the years. And again, that's to get the former players back in touch with the fans, which is the Disabled Supporters Association does the same thing. And with the Former Players Association, we're looking to support all kinds of things local and Wolverhampton based. So it's really saying thank you as former players. We're just trying to say thank you for the support that we got when we played for our great club, and then hoping to just give something back. Now we can't actually play properly with a gold shirt on at Molineux, but we can do what we can for the community and keep the link going between supporters and players, because there isn't a professional football club, in my opinion, without there being fans and without there being players. And that doesn't finish when players move on to different clubs or they have to retire from playing professionally. Carries on, because the association with former players is huge. We saw that in the last few weeks with West Ham, with probably one of their greatest players ever, Billy Bonds, unfortunately passing away. And the support there was tangible, and you can see it. And we've got that's why clubs will name stands after their greatest players. We've got the Billy Wright stand, we've got the Stan Cully stand at Molineux, along with obviously Steve Bull, and then the other one, obviously the Jack Haywood, whose intervention and support brought us back from very low levels. So I think supporters, and that's what the owners of clubs, and I know you've just mentioned about that. The owners of clubs have to realise that they're just temporarily custodians of a tradition, something that's interwoven with the fabric of local communities for hundreds of years. And it's not just a case, it's very difficult. Well, I think some have tried, but what you'll find is that the heart and soul of a football club is intertwined with the heart and soul of the community, and you've got to I think owners can come unstuck if they don't appreciate and really buy into that.
No, I think you're absolutely right.
There you go.
You make some absolute, and it's good to support
hopefully
it's really good to support these sort of things as well. So it was really nice to be there. Right, so let's let me just bring on to the screen. Let's focus on the Arsenal versus Wolves game. It was 2-1. A lot of people saying really well done to you on that as well, Mel. But we've got Dave from New York.
Hey Dave with New York Wolves here, outside McHale's on a rather chilly Saturday in New York. It's supposed to start snowing soon, so I will make this brief. Bloody hell, mate. I mean, you go into bottom of the table, 2 points, winless all season, going into the home of the almost champions elect. A bit early to say that, but team that's top of the table. I was worried about today. I was worried how it was going to end up, how badly we were going to get beaten. But bloody hell, I'm disappointed we didn't get a point, because we had a defensive game plan and we executed it really, really well. Incredibly unlucky goal that shouldn't have been a goal because it wasn't a corner, because their guy was offside. But hey, well done VAR. They did as well with that one as the who was their player that connected his studs to João Gomez's forehead and VAR didn't even review it. Fantastic job there. But anyway, incredibly unlucky to concede from that corner. And you thought, as soon as they scored, you think, okay, well, that's over. We're losing 1-0. Maybe they might score another couple and, we'll go down 2 or 3-0. But even then, coming into today, I thought, 3, 4, 5-0. I was expecting, hopefully it's not a cricket score. So even then, you're thinking, okay, it's not too bad. And then we equalised. Cracking ball in from Mane. And a nice little header from Kadari. So all of a sudden, it's 1-1. You just got to close it out. We're going to get a point. And then they score another ridiculous own goal. Sometimes you just got to accept when the gods are against you, the gods are against you, because I feel like we've played decent a few times this season, like against Tottenham, against Brighton, even Bournemouth and Newcastle today, against Villa, and we've just got nothing for it. Or not got what we deserved. And when you're in our position where we've systematically weakened the squad over the last 4 years, to stay up you need that luck, and we've just not been getting the luck. So I don't know, it's just so frustrating today. A draw today would have been such a morale booster, and we deserved it. Let's not kid ourselves. So I don't know, hopefully we can build one today. I think everybody played pretty well. Even Hwang, I know he's got slated recently, but that breakaway chance he had, I think he made the best of that. Maybe he could have taken one more touch at the end there, just to, be a little closer to goal, but he did really well there, and I think everyone did pretty well. No glaring mistakes, no poor performances. Agbadu looked pretty good. Doc, even, I was a bit sceptical about having him as a right wing back, but he wasn't really a wing back, was he? He wasn't expected to get forward much, so his age wasn't an issue. And certainly the tenacity and the tackle and the smarts on the pitch were really good from him. So I'm just really gutted, because we deserved a point today, and that would have been such a morale booster. And instead, we walked away from it having scored all 3 goals and still lost. But that just kind of sums up that season. So I don't know, whatever. Wolves Aerie. Invite you all to come watch Wolves at McHale's next season, and anytime We want to come over. Talk to you soon, mate.
Dave always talks really, really well. Let's get on to the game because yesterday Arsenal going into this game against the Gunners, every single person, bar none, were probably thinking minimum 3 or 4-0. It's going to be a walkover in the park for Arsenal. Top of the league, top of the Premier League, unbeaten, won every single game in the Champions League, top of the league in the Champions League, against Wolverhampton Wanderers, a team that had lost 8 straight in the Premier League, 15 games without a win at the start of this season, 19 games in 19 games in the Premier League, half a season since April the 26th. And I'm telling you what, those Arsenal players, their management, their fans, I don't know how that, when they come out that game, they must have been like hoops, a collective sigh of relief, because they had an almighty scare. And I just felt, I felt watching that game, I didn't go down, don't miss me anyone, did the watch along. I felt that we played, we had a team that we could be proud of, and we scored 3 goals, and yet we still lost. It's just the Wolves way, hoops.
Yeah, I think, as you say, I mean, on the Arsenal fans, I guess for them, although this isn't certainly about them today, that maybe at the end of the season they'll look at this game and go, that was the one, you know, and that can be the difference as they're chasing the title. But, you know, let's focus on us. Yeah, a lot of pride in the performance, but ultimately we'll winless. And it was really interesting to listen to Rob Edwards' reaction after the game, and it's always difficult. And Mel's obviously probably been there as well after the game, full of emotion. And how do you articulate how you're feeling, and how do you get the right messages across? And I think he was frustrated, and he wasn't bemoaning any bad luck. Okay, a couple of own goals. However, I think he was frustrated that there was an opportunity there to at least get a point, and we haven't saw the game out. But in the context of that performance, it was a good performance, because you're right, Dave. I think if you speak to anyone coming into this game off the back of a team full of confidence, again, and a team sort of bereft of any confidence, you could only see one outcome. But in that game, we were, you know, deserving of something more, if you can say deserving of it, because ultimately we didn't see the game out. But a lot of pride. I mean, Dave from New York Wolves, and a couple of people have said, oh, we can build on that. And I mentioned this out on social media because there was a lot of talk on the Villa game about building on a performance, and then we followed it up with some rotten performances, let's be honest. So, yes, it would be nice to use it as a platform, but ultimately I worry that whilst there are good performances and we took them, you know, into injury time, we're still winless, and that's what hurts. So yes, there's pride within the performance, but ultimately it's another defeat.
No, absolutely. I mean, and this is a really good point. And I'm going to, Mel, being a professional footballer, played hundreds of times for Wolves, will have seen many, many scenarios. I'm going to get Mel's opinion on that. For me, I was so down after the last 2 performances, especially. And I just thought a lot of fans have said they've given up, that they're not fighting, that they don't care. To me, they showed heart, bravery, structure, calmness, touches of quality, and they showed to me that they really cared, and every single one of them fought for the badge. And the away fans were fantastic. The Emirates were falling quiet. You could feel the frustrations, and they scored a freak. The first goal was a freak goal. Literally goes inside of the post. It comes off Sam's shoulder and goes into the net. And then we've got Arsenal pushed back on the ropes. They're literally hanging on at the end, trying to see the game out. Young Mane, what a prospect he is, by the way. 18 years of age, so brave. So much ability and talent. You know, one of our own that's come through the academy. He picks the ball up. He picks out a fantastic ball. And I tell you what, Tulu, he's just in the right place. He's scored 3 goals now, and he's just so strong. And I just feel that he adds a physical strength that maybe Larson doesn't have. He seems to scare defenders. It's a good ender, and he puts it away. And then, it was Wolves were in the ascendancy, but if you don't stop the crosses, these things could happen. I mean, it hits Totti and it goes in the net, and the deflation at the end for the players, from the supporters, from all of us, it's just like, you just think how many games, like last minute goals against Tottenham, Brighton, Burnley, and it's happened again. And you saw the interview with Tolu after the game, and he just looked completely deflated. He just said it keeps happening to us. But like, champions find a way somehow to win, and the luck goes their way. And when you're down the bottom, it seems that every little mistake, everything gets punished. And Mel, maybe you can sort of throw some, having played the game at the highest level and seen pretty much every scenario. Wolves are going through a really sticky patch at the moment, as you know, on the field. We've seen a decent performance against Tottenham, against Brighton, earlier in the season, a good away performance against Villa, a good away performance against Arsenal. Do you think the atmosphere at Molineux is affecting the players playing at home? Because they seem to be playing better away from home, generally speaking. Mel, is he on a delay? Oh, it is.
Yeah. So, yeah, there is a delay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. This is all about belief. This is all about, how do you manifest results? And underlying there, within the framework of energy that says we are not worthy of getting results, and we've got to change that. We have to change the way that that there is. I'm going back to when we were doing well at various times at Wolves, and it was always, there was a collective belief that no matter who we're playing, we could win the game. And I don't know whether there's yes, you can put the effort in, but really there has to be that belief, and it's just fine-tuned. It's just it's moments that dictate, and the moments that dictated, like with the 2 own goals, it's we have to, can we stop the cross? But a ball shouldn't go straight into the goal off the post and then come out, whatever. The keeper has to get us touch to that. The keeper has to see that, and he just moves his feet because nobody was impeding him, and he has to get a better touch. He's just got it, but not quite enough. But there's just little things that are going to let you down, and that's where really, is there enough belief in that dressing room? I don't know.
It's a good question,
but it's translating onto the pitch into, and nobody is not trying their best. That's number one thing. I can't see any player that isn't trying his best and giving his all for the shirt, and that's what you want as a fan. But the defining component is, do they fully believe that they're going to get a result? And that's the difference.
And does this come down, Mel, from
Arsenal probably believe they're going to get a result, and they got one.
Yeah, but do you think this is because, like, it's been so long since we've won, we forgot how to win? And there's like, and in the back, you do a lot on psychological stuff. I know in your, I mean, if you want to tell people a little bit what you do as well, because you do a lot.
It's basically, it's immense. it's. I don't promote it as much as I used to and what have you, because I've been helping other groups and what have you, and I get a lot of help out of helping people get their self-esteem back, etc. But at the very, very top level, it is all about that as well. I've helped professional footballers many times. I've helped boxers win major titles. I've helped swimmers even get kind of British team timing so that they're in the GB team. I've helped lots of different people in lots of different aspects, and this is all about people's own personal belief. In other words, the programs that they're running on, which are, so we don't know. Sometimes we're running on a program that's basically, I'm not good enough. And I feel that that's the problem with some of the Wolves players. They don't really believe that they're good enough. And they are good enough, and unless they believe it and start to actually put their chest out and really believe it, and that's what you from some of the Arsenal players, although they're struggling, they get a result. That was the time when, see, Liverpool have lost that little bit of, and Klopp's got back. That it can sometimes be, there's a fine tune between arrogance and total self-belief. And you've seen it time and time again, say with Liverpool teams, when, like last season, when they were winning everything, they'd find a way to win a game.
And you saw
City wholly and utterly believe that they were going to win
as well. Yeah.
And until we get that, until we can get that back, and we had that with players a few, going back not too long ago under Nuno, you had that belief put into everybody by Connor Cody, for instance. He was the leader, and then you'd got Neves, you'd got all the great players that we've had, and you knew that whatever match you're going in, we've got a chance of winning it. Well, you didn't win every game, because you've got to take account the opposition are going to be doing the same kind of thing. That they're going to believe they're going to win.
Mel, I've got a question.
And that's the beauty of sport, and at the very, very top end, it's fine margins.
Mel, I've got a question for you here from Chris Humphreys, who's one of our members, Cheerful. You've met him, you know Chris well. He wants to ask you, and it's a good question whilst we're talking about this, because Larsson's a striker. He wants to know what you think of Larsson's contribution as a striker to the team currently. Well, if he's leading the line, I watched a game this afternoon with two of the top strikers, similar who play similar position to Strand Larsson. I watched Palace play Man City. You got two of the best strikers who play in his position in the country there. He's got to look at them and he's got to say, right, can I that I can influence the game. That's really what he needs to do. Be brave enough to be what he can, and he can get back to being what we know he can be, because he's not been the same presence at the moment that he was, say, last season. He's not getting as many chances, but to lead the line, first of all, you've got to hold the ball up. You've got to keep the ball for your team. You've got to then join in. You can keep things down to a minimum. If your team is like Man City, you don't have to have as many touches, because you know that they're going to kick. But when your team are going to keep the ball, and eventually you're going to get a chance, as Haaland did today. But I'd just got to say, he's got to be brave. He's got to make the runs. He's got to hold the ball up, and he's just got to lead the line, which he's capable of.
but he's not quite doing as he did for us last season.
Mel,
Now, that might be because he's not, I don't know, 100% fit. He might be not 100. He might be carrying. So I don't know about that. I mean, I like him. Obviously, I think he's some of the stuff he's done is great, but he's not performing as well as he was last season, which I'm sure he knows that.
Do you think Tulu should start ahead of him at the moment? Do you think he needs to kind of like start Tolu in front of Larson at the moment? Because when everything times Tolu seems to come on, things seems to happen.
Look, I like Arakadari. I think he's got a presence about him. He's taken his goals well. I know they were in the League Cup, but that goal
scored last night as well.
He's just held the guy off and he's nodded it in against Arsenal yesterday. Brilliant. Obviously, he hasn't been starting as much, whether it be with the two of them starting or him instead of Strand Larsen, because I don't think he's probably not match fit or fit enough to start. I don't know what fitness thing is. So without being there all day, every day, I don't know. I can't answer that question.
Yeah,
there might be a reason why he's not.
He was said to be only 30% fit when he
hardly starting, but he's
yeah, it was said to be only 30% fit when he first came. But
yeah, well, that's the reason.
For 3 or 4 months now, so you don't be fit by now. He certainly looks fit when he comes off the bench. Well, whether or not he can do the full 90 or not, but if he's good enough to come off the bench and he's scoring goals, he's scoring problems, surely he's good enough to start if need be. Because Larson, obviously, I think it's a confidence thing. You know, Rob Edwards came out in the press conference. Obviously, was cheered when the substitution was made. That's not yet, and it's upset him. He said it's upset him. It's upset the boy because he really does want to do well. He wants to fight for the team. He wants to do well. And strikers, as you know, Mel, can go through phases where they don't score and then all of a sudden they can click in. But sometimes for players struggling for confidence, you just take them out the firing line for a little bit, don't you? Especially if you've got someone else that you can put in first. So I don't know what you think about that. And Hoops, it'd be interesting to hear what you've got to say on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, do you want me to start off and I'll come back on it? But,
pass it over to Hoops, yeah.
Okay, no worries. So I'm kind of with Mel on this one. I think, you know, we can look at Tolu and I can understand the clamour for him starting because in the most simplistic terms, we're looking at Larson and he's not having a great time at the moment. So the obvious thing would be, let's get him out the side. But yes, we're seeing an effective Tolu, but we're seeing it, to your point, for 20 minutes. It's having that ability to do 90 minutes. And as Mel was referencing, you know, perhaps at the moment at Thompson, they're monitoring to see if he's ready to play for 90 minutes. So very simple to say, well, Larson's struggling, you know, let's bring Tolu on from the start. But is he conditioned to do that? And, you know, so that's kind of my point. And we've talked a little bit about belief, and it's the same with Larson. Yes, he's not getting as many chances, and the dynamic of the team isn't quite there. You know, he's arguably had, you know, many of his assists taken away from him from Nori and Cunha and so forth, and he's not getting that service. So at this moment in time, if it was me, I don't know what happens on a training ground at Compton. I would still persevere with Larson, but I know that's not going to be a popular view because in my season ticket seat, and I get it, everybody's on his back at the moment. It's become a little bit of a scapegoat, and everybody I speak to want him out the side, and he's struggling right now. But I would probably still give him the opportunity at home against Brentford. But it's like anything; there will be a point where if Tolu's up to speed, then naturally he's going to come in. But we're all hoping, and maybe I'm being optimistic here, that, you know, he gets one off the backside against Brentford, and then there's a change in shift, there's a change in mentality. Because how do you change a player from how he was last year to this year? There are differences in terms of personnel with him, but ultimately he's still the same player.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just going to stick with you, Hoops, just for a second, then I'm going to come to Mel again in a second. A good performance. I think many people have sort of said about we've had a few decent performances, not got the results. It was a great performance against a really good side, and it was great to have that sort of 2 minutes of joy again. We scored a really good goal. What's your take on the substitutions that Rob did yesterday? What's your take on young Matheus Mane? Because I really like him. Every time he comes on, he seems to be quite positive. And he's making a difference. He's coming through the thing. And what's your thought on the fact that all our best performances seem to be coming away from home, and yet at Molineux, they've been poor? Because we had the Villa game, didn't we, where we were really positive. Thought, okay, we've lost the game to a worldie. We've had a goal disallowed. They've scored a worldie top bin. We've lost 1-0. Villa, are going something like 6 games in a row they've won. They're on fire. And then we had the performances at home against Forest, and I think United was terrible. Obviously, Gomez was missing in the United game. I think he was a big miss. But we've had a couple of these where we've had a decent performance or a decent half, and then the home performances have just been terrible. And yet again, we've had another decent away performance against Arsenal, a really good team performance. And we've got to follow that up now. We've got a game against Brentford next week where people's expectations will probably, off the back of the Arsenal performance, will be a little bit raised in terms of that performance. They've got to follow up that level of performance for me and take that into the Brentford game. But do you think, because of everything's going on, do you think like there's a nervousness with the players playing at Molineux rather than playing away? Is there a psychological thing there, or do you think it's just coincidence?
Yeah, I guess on those points, if I start with the substitutions first of all, so and particularly, I think Mane needs to be mentioned, because I agree with you, Dave. I think there's a talent there. I know over the last couple of years we've lost some serious talent in the academy to some big sides, which probably hasn't been that well documented. And I know with Mane, they wanted to get him in quite early because I know Chelsea and Man United were interested in him. So there's been a lot of talk. People, see the games and they know that is a talent. And even our previous manager, I think, was quoted, I'll try and paraphrase him, to say, he thinks he's going to go to the very top. So that's an absolute bright spot. And we want to see someone come in who's perhaps not as weighted with expectation in terms of, or a big transfer fee that other players are. And he comes in with a little bit of a fresh impetus. And I think the way in which he plays, you talk about mentality and fear. He looked pretty fearless last night. So I'm absolutely all for Mane getting more game time, and I'm sure that will come. There's no doubt on that. So the substitutions are positive. I thought for Lopez looks okay as well, and I think he has done when he's come off the bench as well. I guess they're not convinced about him starting, from the start. I'd be disappointed if he went on loan in January. He's been muted, because why can he not get minutes with us at the moment? And then in terms of the home and away sort of dilemma, I mean, Edwards himself alluded to it. I think it was in the Forest game, didn't he? He came out publicly and said he'd said to his players at half-time, "Are you scared?" Because he was shocked that they weren't, being adventurous with their play. Was there too much sort of, I don't mind sideways football. People will hate it because you're retaining the ball, but you've got to have some sort of purpose. And there was a little bit like, and Mel, be far more qualified than me to talk about it, but if they are struggling with confidence, it was kind of like that hot potato. Now you have the ball, now you have the ball. And maybe that ties into the fact, there'll be people saying, oh, but they're professional footballers and they're on X amount and they should handle it, and the best players handle it. And maybe they do. But I don't think it's purely coincidental that our best performances recently have been away from home, because there is a difficult atmosphere at Molineux at the moment. But that's because we've not won since April. So it's going to be that way. And the fans, I think, have been pretty patient, to be honest. So that comes down to mentality. It comes down to players who want to stand up and go, I can handle this. So I think, if they get that win, then again, at home, things might change. Not to the extent that I feel that will stay up, but, the mentality shift might change. But, yeah, I don't think it's purely coincidental, Dave, because it's evident in the way in which they play. They play very differently at home, and it feels like they're playing at times with a lot of pressure and weight on their shoulders.
Okay, well, that's fair. That's fair enough. I think that's certainly a fair comment. I think Rob Edwards was asked at the press conference about the home and the playing at home and playing away, and he said we've only had one away game. We've got Arsenal, so I think he'll probably be able to answer that better himself. I'm going to come on to the Jeff Shee interview in a second, but we've got a caller. We've got young Scott, and if you want to call in and have a couple of minutes on screen to get your point across, the link is in the description. We've got young Scott that's on. Scott, what would you like to say? Scott?
Oh, sorry, guys. I was out of it for a minute there. Sorry.
What would you like to say, Scott?
I just like to say, no problem. I just like to say that Tolu now needs to start. There's no debate about it, really.
Okay.
Because he's proven to himself that obviously now Larson's got himself some competition. He's got to start now. If he don't, then Rob Edwards must be seeing something we don't. And I know I said this while watching the game. The lineup, yes, it was very strong, but again, Hwang was back in. I was impressed with him. I'll give him that. I was impressed with him, but I did say to my mum and dad, clearly Rob Edwards is seeing something we don't, and he proved it yesterday. But I think Tolu starts, it will improve Hwang's game as well.
That's a good point. What other points would you like to make, Scott?
I do my own podcast, and I'm sure you've heard of it, Dave. From what Carl's told me, you've heard of it before.
Right. What points would you like to make about the game?
It was a very good performance. I'll give it that. An absolutely outstanding performance. It needs to happen again.
Yeah, so you were pleased with the performance.
I was extremely pleased.
Yeah. How are you thinking about the Brentford game?
Well, Brentford, they're not Arsenal, and they drew with Leeds this afternoon. And I believe if we can just carry the performance over, we've got this. It'll be our first win of the season. We've got to have the faith that we can get a win against one of the, I don't want to say weaker, but weaker sides. There's no other team that's stronger than Arsenal at this moment in time. And if we could just play like we did, defend, go on a counter, keep on going on these counters, and as we are doing, we'll score more and we'll win. It'll be nice to see that the fans can experience a first win at home.
So you're feeling confident for Brentford then, Scott?
Yeah. It's something though that we've been saying. If we don't carry this over, as you said, we did well against Villa, and then we followed it up against a performance against Forest where I believe we only had one shot on target, or maybe not even that. But it's a performance we've got to follow on. If we don't follow this performance, then we've got no hope. If we don't have a win by December, we've again got no hope. We've got to get a win soon.
Scott, we are in December, unfortunately. I think
you know what I mean, the end of December.
Yeah, I think you're right. Listen, let's hope, mate, because the fans will be there at the Brentford game, and we need to support get behind the team. But thanks for your contribution. We have another caller, Mel and Hoops, that we're going to bring on now. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Dave. Bye-bye.
We've got a William Flanagan. Hello. Are you a brand new caller?
Hi, Dave.
Is this your first time? Are you a brand new caller?
I'm from New Zealand, yeah.
From New Zealand. Fantastic.
I want to talk about this game, obviously, and I know this week isn't one to talk about Fosun, but I feel like people just think that Fosun is stupid but they know what they're doing. They're setting our team up to be in the championship next year, and they don't really care about it. So I just feel like they're not going to change that much, so we need to get them out first. And also on the performance this week, I would take a tie at Brentford. They're a really good team. And the game against Arsenal, I'd still start Hwang again. He performed great, and Tolu as well. So against Brentford, I'd keep the same back line, the same midfield. I'd bring in Hwang, and I'd bring in Tolu as well instead of Larson.
Can I ask
feel
you,
like
mate?
Larson has been, you just see him, he's not running quick enough, he's not getting to the ball. I just feel like he's not trying hard enough, and that's not good enough for our team at the moment. We need hard workers, and I feel like that's what Tolu's been doing, that's what Mane's been doing. I feel like I want to keep Hwang in the starting lineup and ease Mane in, because let's face it, Hwang hasn't had confidence all season, and he's gained a little bit through this game, and I feel like we should keep him in, and he could turn back to the old Hwang we had a couple seasons ago with Gary O'Neill.
No, I think you make a really good point. Can I just ask you a couple of questions there? There's a bit of a reverb, but like, what time of the day is it where you are in New Zealand, and how are you a Wolves fan? There's a bit of a reverb, but like, what time of the day is it where you are in New Zealand?
It's 10:30 in New Zealand at the moment.
In the morning. How do you become a Wolves fan, William? How did you become a Wolves fan?
Okay, thanks, Dave. I'm going to head off now.
Okay, no problem. Thanks, William. How did you become a Wolves fan?
Okay, thanks, Dave. I'm going to head off now.
Okay, no problem. Thanks, William. Right, well, that was good. I don't know, there was a bit of a delay in the reverb there anyway. But young Wolves fan over in New Zealand. We've got around about 10, 15 minutes of the show left. Mel, I want to get your opinions on what's been going on off the pitch. Lots of fans very angry. Obviously, there was protests at the last game against Manchester United. And, of course, the chairman did an interview on WM, which, of course, you used to do some stuff on WM as well. You know, as a Wolves legend, as an ex-player, as a Wolves fan, ambassador, what's your honest view of where Wolves are off the pitch with the owners, with the protests, with what Jeff Shees has been saying with where Wolves are, and obviously with the interview last week? What's your take?
I haven't. I've only heard bits and bobs. I haven't heard the full interview with BBC WM, and I don't keep up to speed with them, to be perfectly honest. I just know that if you know the club to be backed, the team, the manager and the team need to be backed properly, and let's hope that happens. And they just need to. There's a difference between having the courage to play and playing with fear, and we're playing too much by fear, especially at Molineux. And we have to have the courage to really step up and play, and that's what the big teams do. That's why Liverpool have, home advantage is there for a reason. And I come to Liverpool or Man United in the past, but Liverpool say last season is that they don't lose games at Anfield because they have the courage to go out and play, and they know that the fans are the 12th man as well. But the Molineux fans are the 12th man. So you've got to go out with the right attitude and the right belief. And it is all about belief. And courage is an emotional state, and it is an empowering emotional state. But we're playing with fear, which is a disempowering emotional state. and it translates. I can see it. It translates, and you're not going to get results at home if you go out there with fear. And there's fear when they go out. They go out, say yesterday, and at Villa as well. You could tell they went out with a game plan, because you've got not the majority of the crowd willing them forward and to score at every opportunity. They can actually sit in there and soak things up and hit people on the break, which they did against Villa. Really unfortunate not to get anything against Villa. Really unfortunate not to get anything there. But it's really having the courage, and it's a change of emotional state. It's not a mental thing. It's an emotional thing. And that's in your subconscious, where you'll find that some people can perform. See, I've seen people actually do routines when they have to go up on stage and perform, as well as go out onto a pitch and perform. And you wouldn't know it, but they know how to get themselves into the state to go out and perform. A lot of the comedians that you will get are absolutely brilliant on stage, but you wouldn't know they were a comedian off the pitch, off the stage. They're just very there, but they have to get themselves into the state to perform, and we're not doing that at Molineux.
Yeah,
as much as we should do. Obviously, quite a few of the players are, but when you only want one player to not do the right thing at the right time, and that's the difference, because it's very, very small margins at the very, very top level. And I keep coming back to that. The owners, I don't know enough to comment on what they're doing. So it would be hearsay and what have you. And I have to be very careful being a member of the Former Players Association and the relationship that we have with the club. So I don't really want to be talking hearsays about stuff that I don't really know enough about.
Can you understand though, Mel?
I can give
the
I understand. Let me answer it a different way. I can understand completely the fans being the way that they are, because I'm a fan. We're all passionate about the club. It'd be great if you'd got owners that could do what the owners of Man City have done for Man City, for instance, and what have you. But they did most of their work before this financial fair play stuff come in.
That's true.
And that's what you usually get that with cartels, don't you? You usually get they'll come in and do it all, and then they'll be the ones trying to bring in the regulations to stop everybody else catching them up.
Yeah.
But it can't. All I will say is it's not easy to keep selling your better players or your best players, and then replace them with players that potentially can come on, like we've done in the past, and it's really worked. But you have to look at other teams, such as the one that we're playing next week, Brentford, Bournemouth, teams of that ilk, where Sunderland that have just come up. You've got a situation where their recruitment, and I think it's all about if you are in a club where your best players are going to be picked off, going to be a selling club there's always an hierarchy, and we're not at the top of the hierarchy. We're in the middle to the bottom of the Premier League, aren't we? But unless you replace them in the right way, which other clubs I've just mentioned too, Bournemouth and Brentford, have managed to do. So that's where I think we've fallen down a bit, and it's just found us out this transfer window in this summer that's just gone on. Although we have bought some decent players in, they haven't got it right.
No,
But
I
then
think you've
they
answered.
can still work with the players that they've got. Then they'll have a transfer window in January, which I know Rob Edwards is obviously aware of, and that they're looking at, and they can move a few things around. So all is not lost yet. Massive, it's a massive ask, but I still think it's possible. Really do.
You still think it's possible to do what, Mel? Stay up.
Yeah.
I like that positivity.
Yeah.
There ain't many people that believe that at the moment.
Of course,
Mel.
it's possible to stop up.
Yeah. Okay.
And they've got to start eradicating negatives as well, such as we'll try and do this, or we're trying to do that. You either do it or you don't. In other words, we will do this. We will do this until it's mathematically impossible. We're going to be going out to get 3 points from every game, and we still keep going out to get 3 points from every game, even when you are mathematically bloody relegated, because you owe that to the fans that come and pay. Literally, they don't pay your wages now, but they do, if you know what I mean. In other words, you as a professional footballer, when you put that shirt on, go out and perform for the fans that come out. Sure, they watch you on the TV all around the world. In other words, you've got to take. This is where it takes the courage to take on the responsibility to say, yes, I'm doing this because A, I'm good enough. B, I'm doing it. They just, oh, you go out with that attitude, you can.
I think you make it. I think
cover as much ground, because you look at the stats. We will cover as much ground as the opposition. They won't out-battle us sometimes, but the ones see, success is an inside-out job, and it has to start. It has to start from in here. It has to start as an inside. It's got to be in here that you want it enough, and that's got to be translated by the manager and the players, which I'm sure they are doing. It's fine margins. It's fine margins, and it's just proves it's fine margins when we go and the two teams we go to Arsenal nearly, but another day we could have nicked it. We scored 3 goals and lost.
I know, mate. That's the Wolves.
We go to Villa, we could have beat them. Look at the run they're on, and that included beating us. They've got about 7 or 8 on the trot, haven't they? And they're third in the table. Yeah, really close with Man City. So we're not. They're on a great run. We're not that far away. They got a great. The difference is belief in all of the players that go out there as a collective. I don't think we believe in quite enough yet. When we do, we'll start winning games when we don't even play that well.
Well, let's hope. Hoops, can I ask you your thoughts just on the Jeff Shee interview that was in the week, because it is news this week. We've got to cover it off. We have covered it quite extensively on the channel up to now, but like, people will be interested in what your takeouts are on that interview. I'm sure you listened to it all.
I did. I think the first thing, and I know this was referenced in the chat you had the other morning, which I watched and enjoyed. He's come out. He's been he's communicated to WM, so it's not as if it's through the official Wolves channel, and he's fielded questions, and he has to be applauded for that. You might not like the answers, and many of us probably don't, or might not even believe the answers, but he's come out and he's said his piece. There are a few takeouts, and I don't want to kind of be clickbait on here or pick out words or phrases out of context, but the context was quite clear. there were concerns around the fact, I think he called relegation a technical term, which was a little bit worrying because it's not really a technical term. It could be, have huge implications for the club and the community. And I thought it was a little bit perhaps naive when he talks about the fact that he felt that whilst the club was financially stable, and that's okay, and he's got a plan going forward, that he didn't believe that there would be job losses. And I'm not saying he guaranteed those, because that's not me putting words into his mouth, but you can listen back and he kind of gave assurances. But to me, if we do end up in the Championship, I think the idea that we could, have 10,000 knocks off the gate and suddenly we need as many people to sell the pies or the drinks, or we need a marketing team for a Championship club at the level that we have, or, the corporate team can easily sell a box against Man City compared to next year, somebody mid-table. To me, that seems a little bit naive. I have family and friends that work at the club, and yes, those players will move on, but my worry on a human level is the impact that it has on those within the club. Minimum wage or thereabouts, what the implications are. So, I feel like the fans have protested in the right way, in the peaceful way. We started with an open letter, and then there was the 15 minutes. People have got the right to protest. I appreciate Jeff coming forward and having his say, but just as a takeout, because there'd be a longer piece, and we probably haven't got the time. There are a few things within the context of what he said that did concern me, and I just worry if he really knows the scale of what and the implications of us being in the Championship. Okay, he started in the Championship and lower down and went up, but this is a very different situation. So I just hope he is fully aware of the financial implications and what could happen should we go down next year, because there's a lot more at stake than just a status, because it has overarching effects on a lot of people within the local area.
Do you feel he's a little out of touch with the fans in how he sees things? Do you feel like I don't like he's not living in he doesn't seem to understand the emotion and all that sort of that's attached to it, that he seems oblivious. So a lot of fans were hoping, that I always think, if you've messed up, you own it. You come out and you actually go, I've messed up. I've let you down. I'm really sorry. Whatever. But it seems from a lot of fans that it's always someone else's fault. And the positive things, I suppose, is that if we go down financially, we're still going to be in a strong position. But it isn't a technical word. He also came out and said, I empathize with some of the fans. That's these sort of things that are said. And I know English is not his first language, but he has lived over here for a very long time. Make him feel disconnected from the fans. Do you have that sense or are you kind of willing to give more of an opportunity, or people have heard the same things with the reset multiple times? I think this is why the fans are so upset and angry, is that they don't trust what he says anymore, and also they want him to actually sit in front of the fans that probably need to sit in front of the fans that are the most angriest, and sit in front and face up to them, rather than the interview on BBC WM was good and it was unscripted, but there was no pushback on the questions. But yeah, if you know what I mean. Whereas we used to have the old fans forum when there'd be a good 100, 150, 200 fans, and they would be able to ask questions that could be covered, or meeting with all the different heads of all the groups that are talking, all the people that are raising these things. Do you not think that those would be more positive steps, because people are really upset?
I think you've got to keep the dialogue open. I think there's been certain examples with other football clubs, and Sheffield Wednesday's one that will be raised, where the owner completely distances themselves and there's no dialogue. So you need to keep the dialogue there. You need to keep people on board, and you need to take the moral high ground here and be constructive and be fair. And I think that's what the fans have been. I think for me, the concern that I've had with the football club for some time and Jeff is I feel like the club has been a very reactive football club and not proactive. And I say that for the following reasons. It feels like the way in which we operate is very haphazard and very window by window. It's kind of like, okay, we're in this position. Oh, well, we've got January if we're in the, and we'll work it out that way. We go from a British model to then a sporting director, and then we change from a different, and then we all buy in with Vitor, and then we bring his mate in as well. For me, ultimately, if it's a business operation, which it ultimately is, it means God so much more to us than that. But we know it's a business. We understand that people aren't naive. And surely you have the people behind the scenes, and actually, when you look at your next manager, you already know who that is. Well, we know in this example, they went for O'Neill. Oh, he didn't want it, and then we went elsewhere. It's this sort of scatter approach, which doesn't give fans much confidence. Ultimately, if you're looking at your players, there's always got to be a succession plan. Strand Larsen suddenly goes and scores 20 goals. We know, well, who's the next one to come in? If your manager does well, you're then thinking of who's the next manager to come in. If the manager doesn't perform, who's the next one to come in? And I feel as if, we talk about resets. It's learn those lessons. And my concerns is that it feels as if there's, the quote, such as quote on the flag. What is the plan, Jeff? So that's what concerns me about being empathetic. I think he absolutely cares, but he's going to care in a different way to us. He's going to care in a different way to me, with my dad taking me, for the first game and going through the terraces. He's going, and being from Wolves. It's different, isn't it? We have a different emotional connection, and he has to have a different head. But to your point, Dave, when he talks about some fans, and so I think he's very laser focused in terms of what he believes. I don't think he's quite fully on board, and I don't think he realises quite the scale and discontent that there is.
Yeah, and I think that's the concerning thing. I will again implore, if Jeff or any of the higher team watch or sing it, please reach out to and sit down with the people that are most upset and angry, because that would be what I think they really need to do. I mean, the WM interview, it's great that he did it, because it's always the case of damned if you do, damned if you don't, and it wasn't scripted. But unfortunately, it came across a little bit like from that particular interview, it came across that he was just out of touch with real fans, and that's just not helped. So he needs to sit down with. I mean, I know he sat down with some real fans. I know he sat down with like London Wolves, Cannock Wolves, another group, and had meetings, and those were apparently amiable meetings. But he needs to sit down with the fans that are really upset and really listen to what they're saying and answer the honest questions. And I think whoever's advising him should be advising him to do that. Personally, that's my opinion. Anyway, I do want to move on, because we're going to do a Q&A. So if you've got any questions for Mel or Hoops, but before we do that, there's quite a few who've been asking about me, about my jumper, my Christmas jumper. I hope you like it. This was designed by Emma, and it's our new merch. You can get it on a mug or a T-shirt. So I'm going to give it a plug. And if you're interested in getting one, you should still be able to get one wherever you live in the world. Scan the QR code on the screen there. There's a few different T-shirts and stuff. You go on the site. You can go on the store on YouTube and click, and you go on the store. And if you use the code XMAS15, EXMAS15, we're doing discount as well for Christmas. So it'll make a nice Christmas present for someone, hopefully, some of this stuff. And it supports the channel and what we do as well. So hopefully see some of you. I know a few people have already bought some of the Christmas jumpers. Well, I do think they're great. They've got the old, if you're listening on the podcast, they've got the old, we've got a reindeer with a tyre track. We've got the old Tatung top in a snowman. And we've got the old store chap with Christmas, with Father Christmas wearing it. So well done to Emma, because she's done a great job on designing that, and she's put it all up on the store for us, and you get them on mugs and T-shirts and stuff as well. So I just wanted to give a plug for that, so I hope you don't mind. Let's go on to some Q&A. So if you've got any questions, yes, Hayley Sparkles, yes, let's talk about the Wolves women. This is why we got Hoops on as well. Mel and Hoops. Wolves women at the weekend, I was there. Very nervous against the WSL2 team. Forest in the first 30 minutes went behind, got better, scored, couldn't get the equaliser, lost at the end of their unbeaten run, which is massive. But Hoops, you were on the I think you were on the stage at the Grand Theatre with Hayley Sparkles, singing with is it Jill Scott? Before you were on Channel 4. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was great to meet everyone, first of all. So it was, a bit of a surreal one, really. So Channel 4 reached out to a number of fans, particularly who was on stage with, who go every home and away game. I don't go to as many Wolves women games as I'd like to, but they contacted me. I explained about my daughter, for example. Now she's 9, and her first games were via Wolves women down at Castlecroft, and she's been mascot for the team, and she now plays for, shout out to Womborne Ravens on a Saturday, and she absolutely loves it, and I've kind of vicariously lived it through her, really. And we've been following them up really kind of on their journey since Mac has gone on board. And so we got contacted. I'll try and condense this for time. We got contacted to do a bit of filming for Channel 4. So we were there in the week. We met Jill Scott, Maisie Adam, who were absolutely lovely, and that formed the preview of the game at the weekend. So it was a great opportunity, literally behind sort of the stage door and behind the curtains at the grand, beautiful venue. And we had to do a bit of filming, and obviously Flo was with me. She absolutely loved it. I looked very uncomfortable when I watched it back, because that was
so funny when I was watching that. I was down at Ensford, and you looked a bit awkward, but it was great fun.
I did, but you got to put yourself up there. And it was a great experience for Flo. She managed to miss a bit of school and be able to tell her friends that she was on the TV. So that meant a lot to me. So, and it was lovely to do it with the others. But yeah, a quick one on the Wolves women, is Dave, when you were there, and I mean, I remember meeting you back when the place Stockport, wasn't it, when it was the game that never was, and they didn't get promoted, and we know all about the lack of backing. But let's fast forward now. That is a real good news story for Wolves at the moment. They're a fantastic, in terms of the team. How they are as role models. They're so approachable. If you go to the games, it feels like a real good family feel to it. I understand for people taking their kids to the Molineux at the moment, that it might be a little bit of the atmosphere might be a bit tricky, but you won't get that certainly down at Telford. So if people have got the opportunity to do so, I'd implore them to go and watch them, and you'll be made to feel very welcome. And they're doing fantastic in the league, and let's hope this year is finally the year for them.
Absolutely. And the women have worked really, really hard. They're putting a lot, and that it's a good thing. And I say, anyone that's never been to watch them, you should go. Honestly, they wear the shirt. And there's someone on here that was just belittling the Wolves women. It's like, we've got no time. That says more about them.
You don't have to watch it. That's fine. We're not. It
just says more about. I think it's like so sad when people can be just like that. Obviously, everyone cares about the men's team. We want them to do well, but the women are working damn hard, and they're scoring goals. They're at the top of the division. It's a day out in itself, and until you go and actually watch, you should go and watch. You can't really judge. It's just it's still good football to go and watch, and an entertaining day in a friendly environment. So don't put them down. Get behind them, because they wear the shirt with pride, and they're getting their own credit off their own back. And Macca's doing a great job down there. As I say, they've been on TNT Sports and Channel 4 because of how well they're doing. They did get knocked out at the weekend, but it was a good crowd. Again, it was a good day, and they had to move from Telford to Hensford. And Hensford, by the way, are a club with a great owner for their level who's investing in them. They've got a fantastic pitch. Hensford are going places at their level. You watch where Hensford will go because they've got an owner that's really, really doing a lot for that football club, which is fantastic. Someone just asked a question. Mel, what do you think of the appointment of Rui Silva, who used to work with Nuno? Rui Silva's come back and become the assistant coach with Rob Edwards. What's your thoughts on that? I think there's a delay again. Mel? Can you hear me, Mel?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of the? Yeah, the question is, what do you think of the appointment of Rui Silva, who used to work with Nuno, that's come back this week, been appointed as assistant head coach to Rob Edwards? Hello.
I think obviously Rob knows him from when I think Rob was doing the 21s or the 23s. Nuno, so he'll know him. So I'm not sure exactly what Rui does. I'm not exactly sure, so I can't really comment too much on that. Apart from the fact that he probably will speak a few more languages than Rob and everybody else, so that helps. And he's obviously very highly regarded, so hopefully that's a really good appointment.
I think so. Hoops, have you got any take on that?
Yeah, I think ultimately it's someone who's had a positive influence in the past, and I think to Mel's point, with the sort of Brazilian influence and so forth, I think the language issue may be able to have individual conversations, perhaps in a little bit more detail with them. But yeah, he was someone obviously that people instantly recognised from Nuno's time, so it appears a good appointment. So yeah, let's wait and see, but it seems a positive step.
Absolutely. I don't see there's any particularly more questions on it. I do want to say it's difficult for me today to do a show because it's a difficult day for me. There's a picture on the screen now of me with my dad, Magic, and my mom. My mom passed away obviously a couple of years ago. It would have been her birthday today. So it's tough today because it's her birthday. But I wanted to still do the show. And I didn't want to be too down and negative because like the negativity is, and everything, people obviously upset and angry and stuff like that, but it does get you down. And my mom always told me to try and be positive, try and be kind, try and be supportive of people and do the best you can in life because life is too short. I've been to the, as I say, with Mel and a couple of weeks in the stuff of the Disability Supporters Association, Wolves fans with severe disabilities that support their club passionately. And obviously missing my mom today has been really, really tough. I've had a little cry. I'm not gonna deny it. I've had a cry today because I do miss her with all my heart. My dad misses her. They were together 66 years, and I try and spend as much time with my dad as a lot. And like days like today, we miss her. We love her, and I know a lot of people are in various situations this time of year when it's Christmas and you've lost loved ones. It's tough for so many people. And the one thing I want to say, although it's tough watching the Wolves at the moment and we're all upset about that, there's people that wish they could have would give anything to have their loved ones back with them, to just have a hug, to tell them they love them. And as bad as things are with the club and all of that sort of stuff, there are far more important things in life to get upset and worried about. And I just want people to think about that when you get angry. think about people that you know that might be going through a hard time this year. Give them a call, give them a hug, ask them how they are, because people do silly things when they're on their own and missing people at this time of year. Just try and do an act of kindness if you can, because it could make the difference for someone this Christmas. And it made me think about that today with my mom. Obviously, I rang my dad. I had a chat with him. He's fine. We're going tomorrow night. We're going to the Fox at Shipley. Obviously, one of our partners, but also one of my mom's favourite places to go. Loves the meals there. We're going for a meal with my dad, Emma, my sister Anne, her husband Alan, because my mom loved it there, and we're going for a meal for her birthday tomorrow night to we know that she'll be with us. So yeah, sorry, I don't want to get too upset because it has been a difficult day for me today, but I just want to say to anyone that's out there that's lost loved ones, or you know someone, please reach out to them over Christmas. Just take care of each other, because that's more important than anything. And Hoops, final words for you on tonight's show?
Yeah, no, and I echo that absolutely. You know, we love the football club, but there are deeper issues at play, and sending you lots of love, and anybody who needs it at the moment. But in terms of the football, let's just hope we win. Let's hope we give people an early present. It's been so long, hasn't it? So yeah, I think we could all do with a little bit of a lift at Brentford, and as Mel put it earlier, hopefully install a little bit of belief in the players, and maybe a bit of belief in us as supporters, because I think we need it as well.
Absolutely, mate. Well said. And final word to literally a really top bloke, a really top guy that does a lot for, you don't see the stuff that Mel does as a former player. He really cares about the club, but he cares about people. He does a lot with the foundation to help youngsters and stuff. He does so much for so many people and supporting that you don't see, and he doesn't shout about. But Mel, final words from you.
It was mentioned in the notes. Talk about a motivational speech.
Yeah,
but motivation speeches or at half time are appropriate, and they do, and that's the manager's job. What Wolves need is inspirational help. And if you inspire somebody, that means in spirit. This is really spiritual, and we have to get down to the essence of what we are. And we are spiritual beings in this existence. We have got to inspire our players, otherwise they ain't going to do it. You can motivate short term. That's the job of the managers and the coaches, and the lead dressing room, the captain, etc. But the real thing that will change the destiny this season is inspiration. And you have to get that inspiration, and that's got to go through to the subconscious and the programming that runs each of us. I do talks on this, but the thing is, we have to get some inspiration from somewhere, because even though we can try as hard as we like, but if we're not believing that we can do it, and that's the only thing that I can say, because you go on, the performances have been really good at Villa. for instance, were the only team that were going to win the second half, and then they go and get 2-2, then they go and score right at the very end when we've absolutely battered them, really, and should have won that game. Arsenal yesterday, we've done enough to get at least a point, if not win the games at Tottenham, Brighton at home. But there's something that's holding them back, and the only thing it can be is really there's a lack of belief there. Not from every player, but they need real inspiration to go out and perform, and that because what you'll find is that teams that really individuals and then teams find another gear. I've coached boxers, wrestlers, individual athletes find something, and it's in spirit, it's inside them. It's got to come from outside, got to come from inside to out. It's an inside out job. It's not an outside in one, and a motivational thing is an outside in one, which is very short term. We need inspiration. We need inspiration from somewhere. Otherwise, if we get the right inspiration and everything, we can still turn this round.
I love it, Mel. Thank you ever so much. I think all we want for Christmas is 3 points and a win.
That's it, Mel Eves, news at 10.
Yeah,
thanks very much.
And that'd be nice. It's, you know when people say, "Oh, something's happened, it must be Christmas." Well, it feels like that for Wolves. If we win, it must be Christmas. Let's hope we get the result next week. We will be back as usual next Sunday night. We'll obviously have some of the regulars as well back on next week as well.
Another foot. Obviously, one of our former players is their manager, Keith Andrews.
Oh yeah, he is, and he's doing a great job. Guys, thank you ever so much for joining. Mel, thanks for joining. Hoops, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining in the chat as well. Look after each other. Seriously, if there's someone you know who's on their own, who's lost someone, going to be on their own, look out for them, because it is a tough time of year for so many people in so many ways. So do what you can and look after each other. Until the next one, always Wolves.